The title of the sermon, The Second Mile Christian. The Second Mile Christian. Brothers and sisters, this morning we looked at the King's way. We saw how our King, Jesus, calls us to a life that looks very different from the way of the world. He calls us to not demand our rights, but to surrender them, because He surrendered all His rights to save us. Tonight, I want us to look closer at one of His commands. It's perhaps the most difficult and also the most beautiful picture of this King's way. Have you ever felt trapped? Have you ever felt forced to do something you did not want to do? Maybe it's a task at your job that is not your responsibility, but is given to you anyway. Maybe it's a duty in your family that feels like a heavy burden, and you feel no one appreciates it. In those moments, what is the feeling in your heart? It's often resentment. It's a feeling of being a victim. We may do the task, but our hearts are heavy and bitter. We walk the mile, but we hate every step. Into this very human feeling, Jesus speaks a word that is both shocking and liberating. He gives us a key to unlock the prison of resentment. He shows us how to find freedom, not by escaping our duties, but by transforming them through His power. Tonight, we will see this truth. Because Christ willingly went the ultimate second mile to serve you, His enemy, you are now free to joyfully serve others instead of resentfully submitting to them. Let us look again at our Lord's words in Matthew 5, verse 41. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. To understand how radical this command is, we must first understand the first mile. The word Jesus uses for forces you is a special word in the Greek. It was not a common word. It was a technical military term. It came from the Persian postal system. But in Jesus' day, every Jew knew what it meant. It meant the legal right of a Roman soldier, an occupying soldier, to press a civilian into service. A soldier could stop you on the road, point to his heavy pack of armor and supplies, and command you to carry it for him. And you had to do it. The law say you had to carry it for 1 Roman mile, which was about 1,000 paces. Can you imagine the feeling? You are walking to the market or going to visit family. Suddenly, a soldier, a symbol of the oppression of your people, stops you. He does not ask. He commands. And you must drop everything and carry his heavy load. Every step is a reminder that you are not free. Every step is filled with humiliation. Your own plans are ruined. People on the road watch you And you feel their pity and your shame. And the anger burns in your heart. You are a victim. You are powerless. You walk that mile, counting every single step, waiting for the moment you can drop the heavy bag and walk away, your heart full of bitterness. That is the first mile. It's a mile of forced submission, a mile of resentment. This is the way of the world. The world understands power and force. It understands doing something because you have to. And it understands the bitterness that comes with it. Into this world of bitter, forced mouths, Jesus gives his command. Go with him 2 miles. When you reach the 1 mile marker and the soldier expects you to drop the bag and leave, you are to turn to him and say, let me carry this for you another mile. And you say that with a big smile. Well, this is not just a little bit more effort. This is a completely different reality. The first mile is the mile of a slave. Yes, the first mile is a mile of a slave. The second mile is the mile of a free man. That's the difference. In the first mile, the soldier is in control. In the second mile, you are in control. But you are not taking control with a sword, with a weapon. No, you are taking control with surprising, shocking, generous love. You are turning an act of oppression into an opportunity for grace. You are showing the soldier that you are not his victim. You are a citizen of another kingdom, serving another king, and you operate by a completely different set of rules. But how is this possible? Is Jesus just giving us another heavy law? Not only must you be oppressed, you must enjoy it and ask for more oppression. Is that what Jesus is telling us to do? No, not at all. This command is not a new burden. It's an invitation into a new freedom. And the power to walk this second mile does not come from your own willpower. It comes from looking at your King. Our King, Jesus Christ, is the great second mile walker. Think about it. He was in heaven in perfect glory and fellowship with the Father. He was not forced to come to earth, but he willingly walked the first mile from the throne of heaven to a humble manger in Bethlehem. He emptied himself, as Paul tells us in Philippians 2. He took the form of a servant. That was his first mile. But he did not stop there. He walked a second mile. He walked from the manger to the cross. He lived a life of service, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and teaching the lost. And at the end, he willingly laid down his life. And he said in John chapter 10:18, no one takes my life from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. The cross was not an accident. It was not something that happened to Jesus against his will. He was not a victim of Rome or the Jewish leaders. He was a willing servant walking the ultimate second mile for you and me, for his people. And who were these people he served? Were they his friends? No. Romans 5 tells us that while we were still sinners, while we were God's enemies, Christ died for us. You see, We were the ones who were hostile to God. We were the oppressors in a spiritual sense. And he did not just carry our pack for a mile. He carried our sin, our shame, our death all the way to the cross. He did it willingly. He did it out of love. And he walked the second mile for you. And when you understand this, it changes everything. When you truly see that your king willingly served you when you were his enemy, it sets you free. You are no longer a victim. You are a child of the king, forgiven, loved, and secured. And from that place of security, you are now free to show that same kind of grace to others. Now, we must be careful. There are other philosophies that can look like the second mile, but they are not the king's way. So we have to be careful. Some ancient philosophers, like the Stoics, taught something similar. Yeah, similar. They would say, if a soldier forces you to carry his pack, do it without complaining. It is foolish to resist. Because, listen, because you will only get beaten and lose your donkey anyway. That's Stoics philosophy. This sounds wise. But what is the motive? The motive is self-preservation. It is about avoiding more pain. It's a philosophy for coping with a harsh world. It's about grinding your teeth and surviving. The Christian second mile is completely different. The motive is not self-preservation. The motive is love. Love for God and love for the person who is wronging you. It's not about avoiding pain. It's about showing grace. It's about demonstrating the love of the King to a watching world. It's not about coping with the world. It is about bringing the light of another world into this one. And there is another, more subtle error we can fall into. It's the error of the first mile Christian. That's right. The error of the first mile Christian. So who is the first mile Christian? Well, this is the person who does their duty, but with a bitter heart. That's the first mile Christian. Does their duty, but with a bitter heart. They carry the pack for the full mile. They do not quit early. They do what is required. From the outside, they look obedient. But inside, their heart is full of resentment. They are singing, they are sighing and complaining in their spirit. They are keeping a record of all the wrongs done to them. They are like the older brother in the story of the prodigal son. He worked in his father's field every day. He did his duty, but his heart was far from his father. He was a slave in his father's house, not a son. My friends, God does not want you to become the first mile Christian. God does not want your grudging first mile service. He wants your heart. He wants you to experience the freedom and joy of the second mile. He wants you to serve not because you have to, but because you are so full of His grace that you want to. So how do we live this out? This is not just a beautiful idea. It's a practical command for your life today. The teaching of Christ's second mile for you is the power for your second mile for others. let us think about our homes. What is your first mile at home? Maybe for a wife, it's feeling like you do all the cleaning, all the planning, all the emotional work for the family, and no one seems to notice. You do it, but you feel tired and resentful. The second mile is not doing more cleaning. The second mile is a change of heart. It's remembering that your King saw you in your mess of sin and joyfully came to serve you and clean you from the inside out. Because He did that for you, you are now free to serve your family, not as a bitter servant, but as a joyful agent of His grace, creating a home that reflects His love. For a husband, maybe the first mile is providing for your family. You are the breadwinner. You bring home the food, the money, and all that. But feeling the pressure, you feel the pressure and the lack of respect. The second mile is to remember that Christ, your head, loved the church and gave Himself up for her. And you are free to love and serve your wife with that same sacrificial, joyful love. Let us think about our work. What is your first mile at your work? Maybe your boss gives you a project at 4:45 p.m. on Friday. And you have been working all day long. And you have to do it. That is the first mile. And you do it with a knot in your stomach. Or maybe a co-worker is lazy and you always have to pick up their slack. You do it, but you complain about them to others. What is the second mile cushion? The second mile is to see this person not as an obstacle, but as a person for whom Christ died. It's to remember that while you were a spiritual slacker, Christ did all the work to save you. And because of that, you are now free to do your work with excellence and a cheerful heart, as if you are working for the Lord Himself. You can even pray for that difficult boss or co-worker. This attitude will be so strange, so different from the office culture, that it may open a door to speak about the King you serve. Let us think about our life here in the church. What is your first mile in the church? Maybe you serve in cleaning or as a greeter or other services. You do it every month because you happen to sign up. But sometimes it feels like a chore. The second mile Christian is to remember that Jesus, the King of the universe, came to serve, not to be served. He joyfully washed His disciples' feet. And because He served you so humbly, you are now free to joyfully serve His people, seeing it not as a duty, but as a privilege to build up His body. Or maybe someone in the church has hurt you. They misunderstood you or said something unkind. The first mile is to avoid them, to be polite on the outside, but inside your heart is cold. The second mile, Christian, is to remember the infinite debt of sin that Christ forgave you. Because you are forgiven so much, you are now free to proactively seek reconciliation, to offer forgiveness before they even ask, to show them the grace you have received. This is the freedom of the second mile. It's the freedom from bitterness. It's the freedom from being a victim. It's the freedom to be an ambassador of King Jesus in every frustrating situation. Brothers and sisters, Tonight, we have walked this road together. We saw the first mile, the mile of forced duty and resentment. We saw how our King Jesus walked the ultimate second mile for us, willingly going to the cross to serve us while we were his enemies. We saw that this great act of love is the source of our freedom. It frees us from the self-centered wisdom of the Stoics and from the bitter heart of the first mile Christian. This is not a new law to crush you. It's a glorious invitation. Where in your life are you stuck on the first mile? Where is resentment growing in your heart? Look to Jesus. See him walking his second mile for you. See his love. See his grace. And let that love melt your bitter heart. Let his grace empower you. You are not a slave. Yeah, that's right. You are not a slave to your circumstances. You are a child of the King. Let us ask God to help us become a second mile people. A church that shocks the world with a generosity and a joyful service that can only be explained by the power of the gospel. Because Christ willingly went the ultimate second mile to serve you, his enemy. You are now free to joyfully serve others instead of resentfully submitting to them. Amen.